The courtroom was silent, the kind of silence that feels heavier than noise. Sunlight filtered through the tall windows, cutting pale lines across the wooden floor. Every eye was on her. A young woman in designer heels, arms crossed, chin slightly raised. She looked like someone who had already decided she was untouchable. Judge Harold Mason adjusted his glasses, scanning the file before him. "Ms. Grant," he began, his voice steady and firm, "these are serious allegations. Before we proceed, do you understand the charges?" That's when it happened. She laughed. Not a nervous chuckle, not the kind of laugh that slips out by mistake, but a sharp, echoing burst that made even the bailiff flinch. A sound that didn't belong in that room. The entire courtroom froze. One juror turned to another, whispering, "Did she just laugh?" The prosecutor's pen stopped mid-sentence. Judge Mason lifted his gaze, his expression unreadable. Melissa Grant leaned back in her chair, a smirk pulling at her lips. "I'm sorry, Your Honor. It's just, this is ridiculous. You're treating me like some criminal over a misunderstanding." The judge didn't respond. Not yet. He simply watched her, the stillness in his eyes more powerful than any outburst. The clock ticked once, a single second stretching into eternity. Somewhere in the gallery, a woman murmured, "She shouldn't have done that." Friends, have you ever seen someone destroy everything with just one laugh? In that moment, Melissa thought she was in control. She thought this was just another stage, another chance to show the world she couldn't be broken. But she didn't realize that behind that quiet stare, Judge Mason already knew something she didn't, something that would change her life before the next minute was over. 30 seconds. That's all it took. 30 seconds for laughter to turn into silence. 30 seconds for confidence to crumble into fear. 30 seconds for the truth to step into the light. And when it did, not even Melissa Grant, the woman who thought she had everything, could stop what was coming next. The tension was electric, the kind that makes every breath feel loud. Even the court reporter stopped typing for a second, glancing up as if to make sure she wasn't dreaming this exchange. The judge leaned slightly forward. "Miss Grant," he said, his tone suddenly softer, "do you have any idea how many people your so-called mix-up affected?" Melissa crossed her legs, her voice dripping with impatience. "It's not my job to count. That's what accountants are for." In the second row, the same mother who had whispered earlier closed her eyes. Her son, sitting beside her in a wheelchair, wore a hospital bracelet. He was one of the children from the charity, and Melissa never even looked his way. "Friends," the narrator's voice broke in quietly, "what would you say to someone who laughs at the very pain they caused?" Melissa didn't know it, but every arrogant word she spoke, every smirk she gave, was pushing the judge toward a decision she wouldn't be able to laugh away. The prosecutor rested her papers. "Your Honor," she said, "the people are ready to present the testimony." Judge Mason nodded slowly. "Proceed." And as the first witness took the stand, a trembling mother whose child's surgery had been delayed, Melissa finally shifted in her seat. Her confidence flickered, just for a second. But she caught herself, smoothed her jacket, and smiled again. She still thought she was winning. She still thought this was just another show. What she didn't know was that the next few minutes would destroy everything she thought she understood about control, power, and truth. The mask she had built for years was starting to crack, and once it did, there would be no laughter left, only silence. The courtroom lights seemed brighter now, almost uncomfortably so. Melissa shifted in her seat, her smirk fading as Judge Harold Mason adjusted his glasses and looked directly at her. The air was thick, the kind of quiet that warns something is about to break. "Miss Grant," he began softly, "I've been sitting on this bench for nearly 30 years. I've seen people lie, I've seen people cry, and I've seen people who think they can out-talk the truth. You, however," he paused, his gaze steady, "you remind me of someone who doesn't yet understand what's really happening." Melissa tilted her head, trying to smile. "With all due respect, Your Honor, I understand perfectly. I didn't steal anything. I borrowed funds, temporarily." Judge Mason nodded slowly, as if studying her. "Borrowed," he repeated. "Let's examine that." He turned to the clerk. "Please project the financial records." The projector hummed to life. On the courtroom screen, a list of transactions appeared, names, dates, and amounts. Melissa's name sat beside each one. "These are 5 separate transfers from the charity account to your personal business account, totaling $287,000. Each transfer was labeled Operational Adjustment. Does that sound familiar?" Melissa's throat tightened. "Yes, but those were temporary moves, part of internal management." The prosecutor stepped forward. "Your Honor, the charity's treasurer confirmed under oath that he was never informed of these transactions, nor were they authorized by the board." Judge Mason looked back at Melissa. "Did you inform anyone?" She hesitated, eyes darting toward her lawyer. I planned to. It was a chaotic time. We were expanding, and I needed liquidity." "Liquidity," he echoed again, his tone neutral but heavy. "Tell me, Miss Grant, did you know that during that same period, 3 children were removed from the charity's treatment list due to lack of funds?" Melissa froze. I wasn't aware." He turned toward the gallery, where the mother and her son sat silently. "That boy," the judge said quietly, "was one of them." Every sound seemed to vanish. The only audible was Melissa's shallow breathing. "I didn't mean," she began, but the judge raised his hand. "I believe you didn't mean for things to go this far. But intentions don't heal broken promises, Miss Grant, nor do they return what was taken." The prosecutor stepped forward again, holding a file. "Your Honor, permission to submit additional evidence. Personal messages recovered from the defendant's account." Melissa's head snapped up. "Messages?" The judge nodded for the clerk to display them. The screen flickered, revealing a chat log. "Melissa Grant, it's fine. I'll move the money for now. The charity won't miss it. I'll make a bigger donation later. PR will eat it up." A collective gasp spread through the courtroom. Her lawyer whispered harshly, "Melissa, don't react." But she couldn't stop. Her face flushed crimson. "Those were taken out of context. I didn't mean it literally." The judge didn't argue. He simply looked at her, his silence cutting deeper than any accusation. "When you wrote those words, you weren't thinking of the children. You were thinking of yourself." Her eyes darted around the room. The spectators' stares felt like spotlights. The woman in the second row met her gaze. There was no hatred there, only disappointment. That somehow hurt more. The judge continued, his tone calm but piercing. "Do you know why you're here, Ms. Grant? Not because of the money, not even because of the lies. You're here because at some point, you decided image mattered more than integrity." Melissa's voice cracked. I was trying to survive. Everyone expected me to be perfect. I couldn't fail." He nodded. "And so you chose to pretend." Tears welled in her eyes now, her carefully built composure collapsing under the weight of her own words. "You don't understand," she whispered. "If I failed, everything would have been over. The investors, the followers, they all wanted a story. I gave them one." "And in doing so," he replied gently, "you forgot the truth wasn't yours to sell." The judge motioned for another document. This is a letter from one of the parents. Her name is Rebecca Hall. Her daughter, Emily, passed away 3 months ago. The surgery she needed was delayed when the charity froze its funds. She wanted you to know that Emily always believed you were her hero. Her lips parted, but no sound came. Her vision blurred. The judge's tone softened even further. Do you still believe this was a misunderstanding, Miss Grant? Her voice was barely audible. No. For the first time that day, she didn't sound like the influencer or the entrepreneur. She sounded like a human being stripped of every illusion. The room stayed silent for several long seconds. Even the hum of the light seemed to fade. Friends, have you ever watched someone realize in real time what they've done? The kind of moment where pride burns away and only truth remains? Judge Mason leaned back in his chair, folding his hands. The money can be repaid, but the trust, that's gone. And that's the real loss here. Melissa nodded slowly, her face wet with tears she didn't bother hiding anymore. For the first time, she didn't try to defend herself. She didn't speak. She didn't laugh. The courtroom that once felt like a stage now felt like a mirror, showing her everything she had tried to ignore. And for Judge Mason, that silence was the first sign that maybe, just maybe, redemption had begun. Melissa sat motionless, staring at the floor. Her reflection shimmered faintly on the polished wood beneath her, a woman unrecognizable from the one who'd strutted into the courtroom hours earlier. Her laughter had vanished. The smirk that once danced on her lips was gone. What remained was a hollow quiet, the kind that follows after truth detonates. Judge Mason folded his hands, watching her. Ms. Grant, I need to hear from you directly. Not your lawyer, not your brand, you. Tell me, in your own words, why did you do it? For a moment, she didn't move. Then her lips parted. Her voice came out fragile, breaking mid-sentence. Because I thought I could get away with it. The confession hung in the air like smoke. She took a shaky breath, words tumbling out faster now, her control unraveling. I thought I was smarter than everyone. I thought I could fix things later, that it was just business, that no one would really get hurt. I kept telling myself I was helping people, but I was just helping myself. She paused, swallowing hard. When this started, I wasn't scared. I laughed because I thought this was beneath me. I thought the world worked differently for people like me, people with followers, influence, money. I didn't believe anything could actually touch me. The audience sat frozen. Even the bailiff, usually stone-faced, looked away. Melissa wiped her eyes with trembling hands. I didn't care who got hurt, as long as I looked good. But when you said that boy's name, when you said